Good afternoon. Now the rain has finally stopped here in Auckland, which means I can show you another great car. Now, if you've been playing the automotive industry bingo over the last decade, one thing you perhaps wouldn't have picked would be the return of Holden's, parent company to New Zealand in the passenger car market. Sure, they'll play with the converted American utes, but factory right-hand drive cars, that could have just been a little bit of a step too far, but they did. And then if you want to go a little bit further on the bingo, they came back with a luxury brand, Cadillac to be specific. And yet another thing off the bingo card is that they came with an electric vehicle. And here it is. This is the Cadillac Lyriq. Quite a departure from, I guess, what people have thought of GM in the past. I think big American cars, V8s, all that kind of thing. But instead, this is quite a high technology electrified vehicle from a brand that has, a legendary status. Right, let's go have a look. Right, let's start at the front of this big beast. And when I say big, I mean big. This is 5 meters long, just about 23 millimeters under 2 meters wide, 1.6 meters tall, so actually not that tall, and about 2.7 tons of curb weight. So this is a big vehicle, rides on big, giant 21-inch wheels, big, huge bonnet here, but no frunk under there. I'll show you what's underneath. You do get a very electric plastic panel along the front, some nice chrome trim. I do like the lights. There's a little slit light along there, and then down here you have these big vertical units. Very cool. If we come around the side, subtle little Cadillac badging there, glinting in the sun. Mirrors with 360-degree cameras. We have poppy Audi door handles, and they're not my favorite type. More chrome along the side there. Rear doors, and then kind of this interesting design through here. This is an SUV, but I almost think like some of this design here is trying to hint at more of a big luxury sedan look, and I do almost think it kind of halfway houses it as far as that shape goes. Lots of black cladding, more lighting around here. At the back, 600 E4. This is a all-wheel drive vehicle. I guess that number is probably kind of aligning with the range that it roughly has. We have the button here for the tailgate. If I touch this here, that opens up. Now we've got a cover there. We've got buttons there to drop the rear seats. And then we have a bit of space under the load floor. In this case, we've got our charger in there. A little bit more space hidden back there. Now this boot is spacious. I think 3 large suitcases, nearly 800 litres in the boot itself, and then nearly 1,800 with the seats down. So big car, big boot, and of course it is electric. The tailgate, a little bit slow, it's coming down there. So yeah, pretty practical big car. I really like the look of the Lyriq. It does really kind of wear its slightly different, slightly premium feel, and you know what? But will I be happy once we have a look inside? So you can use a normal key fob, or there is a spot there for a key card to get in, and there is an app that has just launched for that. Now let's jump in the back first, because big Cadillac should have a big back seat, and well, it does. Really spacious, big rear seat. Lots of leg room. I'm going to jump in here, and it is super comfortable. Pull down the armrest here. Plenty of leg room for me. I'm over 6 foot and I'm a large guy. We have separate air conditioning here in the back. We have 2 USB-C ports. We have a vehicle to load unit there. It does not say what the rating is. I'll put that up. Big pockets there. We've got some specification seats there. We have a glass roof in here. Grab handle with hidden lighting. Little hooks there for hanging things on. Overall, just a really nicely finished rear space. These seats are heated as well. You've got ISOFIX points down here too. Cup holders in the middle. I wouldn't say it's overall dramatic luxury, but it is very nice. There are a few little things missing, like there's no rear curtains or blinds in the back. Maybe if it was super luxury, I might expect some ventilation for these rear seats, but you know what? It's pretty darn comfortable. And I think one area where this car could do well in New Zealand is in that high-end luxury taxi space, that corporate cab space, because this could make a really good option for things like corporate cabs, which at the moment actually use cars that are probably a bit below what you'd expect from corporate. They used to use Caprices, now they're using Skodas, and I think Volkswagen ID4s are their new electric option. But I think this could be a really interesting one for them to look at too, or services of that ilk. Just super comfortable, but the key thing is it has that presence that's really important when you are talking about a car that people are paying serious money to ride in. Right, let's go and try out the driver's quarters. Okay, let's jump in the front of the Cadillac. First, just have a quick look inside. And look, it just kind of screams plush, doesn't it? At first look. Now, it's not entirely successful though at completely conveying massive luxury after a few minutes though, because you do initially find some stuff that's just not quite right. And what I'm talking about is some of these finishes. They're hidden around the place, lots of plastic and even some just poor build. That's quite a sharp edge there that's exposed. The dash is okay. Steering wheel feels pretty nice. Just potentially needs just a little more thought, a little more finishing in the build to be true luxury. But overall, it's actually not that bad. The key stuff like the steering wheel does feel pretty good. You've got all nice things, controls like these for the seats here on the door, very Mercedes-like. Massage function there as well, all important. You do get this giant 33-inch screen, and yes, there is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and they work rather well. Now on the steering wheel, you've got capacitive buttons. They actually work pretty well, but there's one thing that annoys me, and we'll talk about it when we're driving. There's a lot of blanks here, and that's because this doesn't get GM's best offerings in regards to function driver assistance. You've kind of got adaptive cruise control and a few other key things, but nothing massively exciting with it. Now you've got your vents are along here with these little control knobs. Same with on the other side. Over here you've got a big glove box. You've got more storage underneath here as well for your cigars or stacks of dollar bills, I guess. Start button tucked in here. Down there you have more storage and a USB port as well with that Cadillac branding. Here's the key and what that looks like. We have cup holders down here. We have a controller for the screen up there and some little hot buttons there, a volume. Now here we have a really big, nice, soft, comfortable armrest. Underneath there, we have some storage and another USB port. We've also got a USB port here next to the wireless car charger. That wireless car charger works pretty well. But I would note, there's a reason that car companies generally don't have USB-C points pointing upwards, and that's because they collect grime, and that one, I suspect, will collect some pretty good grime over the years, and I would say it'll be a struggle to keep it working. But that's, I guess, Cadillac's problem to deal with in the long run. Now, dual zone climate control, all that along there. We have 360-degree cameras, as we mentioned, pretty good. The sound system, it thumps. It's an AKG system. I think it's 18 speakers. Sounds really nice. Now the seats, mega comfortable. Super impressed with those. Speakers in the headrests. You have a video rear vision unit, and we do have a glass roof. It's actually a sunroof that opens up there. Now, considering it's a bit wet in Auckland today, I hope it doesn't start raining right this second. Quite a reasonably featured interior. I like it. It could just be a little bit nicer put together to be counted as true luxury. Right, let's take it for a drive. Right, let's take this thing for a drive. Now, transmission shifter, it's on the steering column there. We're down at Auckland's waterfront, so we're going to wait for the boaties to all move away. Unfortunately, it means we also can't use our drone down here, which means that you're going to have to deal with some lovely shots from the GM Media catalogue, which will probably be better than what we can do anyway. Right, so what are we looking at with this car? So four-wheel drive, there's motors front and rear. Output 388 kilowatts, nearly 700 newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 in 5.3 seconds. This car, those numbers, not scream, 5.3 doesn't scream massive, but this car is so big, it feels rapid, and overtaking this thing is, that's what they say, it's incredibly safe. Because, your time on the other side of the road, time exposed to danger, is very short. And it actually rides really well too. So it's not firm, it's not soft and squishy, it's just really good at balancing itself through the corners. Super comfy. My wife, when I drive briskly, has a habit of getting a little bit car sick at times, and she had zero issue in the Cadillac. And we're going over some really sharp speed bumps here, and the car is just barely flustered by them at all. It does its job of being a Cadillac, riding like you're on a carpet or on a soft couch, just incredibly well, but at the same time it's actually a respectable drive. Now, it's not sporty. The steering, it's nice and linear, but I wouldn't call it direct. It just does the job. But yeah, not a bad compromise for a luxury sedan. No different to some of the bigger German luxury offerings. And I guess that is what they're targeting. I would say pretty much dead on that the Germans are exactly what Cadillac are targeting with this car. Refinement, it's electric. It's always going to be quiet and smooth. This one particularly so. It does have its electric noise at low speed, but it's not too noticeable. And when you're up and going, you hear very little tire roar. And if you look around the car, there's things that suggest how wide that is. There's like felt lining in the wheel arches. It just really cossets you. The seats, comfortable, both front and rear. We've mentioned that already. You got the massage in the front too, if you really want it. The big screen works nicely enough. You can change what screen you want over here. But I did finding some of the controls for switching through the driver functions on the steering wheel a bit tricky. They're not too bad over here. You can go straight to your controls here, and they work okay. But the design works well enough. Now, the stuff in here, nice to have buttons for all these. These controls here are good. Cup holders are handy there. So this does feel a bit hard and cheap through here at times. So the interior, good enough. The drive, really good. Now, what are my little nitpicky things? Well, it does have a driver attention monitor. It is pretty easily triggered, but it doesn't have too many bells and squeaks and all that kind of stuff. So that is not too bad. I'm okay with that. And then there is the driver assistance features. Now, it does all the usual things pretty well. The adaptive cruise control works well. The lane keep works okay. All those kind of things. Blind spot, fine. But this is a luxury modern electric car, and I expect a little bit more. I expect a really decent lane centering, lane tracing system, in the same way that in my little 3-year-old family BYD Atto 3 has. This doesn't have it, and we've before, we've literally got blanks on the steering wheel. Now, of course, in other markets, this would have GM's Super Cruise feature, but that requires high definition mapping, which they don't have here yet. But I kind of feel like Cadillac should have looked at maybe adding a little bit more into the car. It just feels like it's missing something in that respect. And, when you're wanting to, as I do, I commute up and down the Northern Tollway all the time, I want to be able to put those things on and just relatively relax in this vehicle. And you can't do that yet. I would say that will be coming in the future. Now, how well does it EV? Very well. So, charging up to 180 kilowatts, and we plugged in today to a 150 kilowatt hour ChargeNet unit, and it shot straight up to 150, clipped along incredibly well. 22 kilowatt AC charging. The charging port is on the passenger side at the front behind an electric hatch. All works pretty well. No issues unplugging and plugging in. So that's good charging speeds. Not the best, but good charging speeds. And the efficiency isn't too bad either. Now, they claim about 21.5, 22, I'll put the exact figures up on the screen, and that's pretty much exactly what we saw in our mostly open road driving. Now, that means that with a 102 kilowatt hour usable battery, that you're pretty much dead set for 500 kilometers of range. Now, WLTP indicates it's up in that range as well, but you know, WLTP can be a pretty hard target to hit. Not with this vehicle. And I wonder if it's because it's just so big and so heavy and the battery's so big that the gap between what it can do efficiency-wise and what you're going to do in real world is just not going to be that different, because it's always going to use a lot of energy. But I still think for a vehicle this size, those are nutty figures. I'm jumping into a van that's about the same size, if not lighter today, and that will use around 25% more power. So Cadillac has done something really right with the electric side of this vehicle. Similarly, power delivery set up really well. It doesn't feel overly aggressive or anything like that until you're kind of out on the open road overtaking, when that really beefy mid-range kicks in. Just a really nice job at making an electric car that electrics well at GM. But that's what I've been hearing you've been doing overseas. I'm hearing amazing things out of America in regards to the vehicles on this Ultium platform. So the Silverado EV, some of the other smaller electric ones you've got buzzing around over there. Bring more of them here, because we like them. I think you guys are getting closer, as far as your platform goes, to the likes of what Tesla can do than a lot of other companies. Now, one of the questions you're probably going to ask is, should I be buying from General Motors? They've left New Zealand once with Holden. And, you know, they, I guess, are in some ways a new brand. Well, they are and they aren't. I mean, the company never entirely left the market. They kind of kept selling their big Chevrolet Utes here as well. So they've had an established dealer network doing that. Cadillac themselves, they're doing their own in-house owned dealerships. The warranty support is good. I think it's 5 years on the vehicle itself, 8 years on the battery. I don't think they're going to be going drastically far, because there's such a lot of money to be made for a little while yet and selling those big petrol pickup trucks. So I think you're pretty safe buying from Cadillac. The question is whether you buy now, when I think these cars are absolute fantastic value, or whether you wait a little for some of that new technology, some of those extra things to come in, or wait for the other vehicles to come along. And that is a solid question that I honestly don't have an answer for. You have to decide how quickly you want to get on board with one of these big electric American vehicles, and whether you have the time to wait for the smaller one, the bigger one, or things like Super Cruise. So it is actually, I think, pretty good value. $170,000. If you look at what else is in that space, you're getting into kind of the actually small to mid-size European premium electric vehicles with significantly smaller batteries. So we talk in that space, things that are actually more expensive than this are cars like the Audi Q6 e-tron. And
since recording, Cadillac have updated the price of the car to $123,000.
You know what? I would have this over the Audi. In fact, I'd have it over a lot of the European vehicles. Sure, they do feel like they are built a little bit better, but you get so much room, so much space, so much capability with this vehicle that it's actually worth it to trade off for those other things. And I do think Cadillac will improve this vehicle, keeping in mind this is one of their, what is their first in many years, right-hand drive vehicles. I'm sure they'll get a little bit of polish in them in the very near future. And hopefully they will work on bringing things like their proper adaptive cruise systems, I believe they call it Super Cruise, to this end of the world. Until then, I still just think it's not terrible value, and I'm interested to see what else they bring to this market. They've got two other electric vehicles coming, a smaller one and a larger one, and they have great potential if they can kind of keep that price leadership for size coming. Anyway, don't forget, like and subscribe below, and we will bring you the reviews of those vehicles when they launch in New Zealand. Catch you later.